Polish prime minister in London was able to convince or get Stalin to agree to evacuate this newly formed Polish army, but also surviving family members from Soviet territory out of the Soviet Union across the Caspian Sea to Iran.
So we managed to get on the ship, came to Parlevi. There we were washed, clothes, the hair was cut because of the insects, etc., etc. And we were free. And every time I meet in Canada somebody from Tehran, from Iran, I am so friendly with them because there were people throwing boiled eggs at us, throwing bread at us, saying, welcome, 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 their language. It was like a miracle. You have no idea how you feel coming from hell into heaven.
Wanderers upon the face of the earth. Patriots from Poland, nearing the end of one of the most amazing marches in history. 3,000 weary miles they've walked to find a haven of refuge.
Two years after disappearing into Siberia as forced laborers, the deportees reappeared again in Iran as refugees. American and British newsreels like this one filmed Poles arriving in Iran. The refugees in them were real, but these scenes were all staged. These films also shifted the facts. The British and American newsreels claimed that the Polish refugees were victims of the Nazis, not of the Soviets.
From one little town in Poland, 1,000 men, women, and children fled from the Nazis into Russia. When the Nazis followed, they pushed on, through mountain and desert, 3,000 miles to Persia, to a haven in Iran on the Caspian Sea.
Behind the scenes, though, the British were helping the Polish government in exile gather testimony about what the Poles had survived. More than 30 years before the Soviet writer Alexander Solzhenitsyn would release the Gulag Archipelago, 118,000 Polish citizens in Iran were testifying about the catastrophically repressive forced labor system in the Soviet Union, but their voices would almost totally disappear.
The Polish army asked the Poles who came out of the Soviet Union to describe what happened to them. There are incredible documents, including 30,000 mostly handwritten depositions or statements filled with detail, especially because these were written in 1942, 1943, when the details were still very, very fresh. No one outside of the Soviet Union had access to this kind of information before, to what it was like to live in these Soviet settlements and to work in the Gulag. The Polish government in exile wanted to make sure they had firsthand information about the treatment that Polish citizens received at the hands of the Soviets after the invasion and annexation of Eastern Poland. There was an expectation that the Western Allies would not stand for the Soviets permanently annexing the territory, and they wanted to show how they behaved.
While they were recovering in Iran, one of the first things the refugees did was pose for a family photograph. Why would refugees rush to get their picture taken? Maybe to show their families, spread out in other places, that they were alive. But looking at these women and children, maybe it was to prove it to themselves as well. The deportees had no images of Siberia, but these photos, captured in Iran, feel like monuments to what they'd survived. This photo, taken in Tehran, is the earliest image of my grandmother's life. All of their family photographs from Poland had been lost during the deportations. My great-grandmother is 36 years old. Her son is 10. My grandmother is barely 12. This fraction of a second in Tehran is of a fragmented family in the middle of war. When everything else was gone, memory was the one thing that could only be taken with their lives.